We now know for a fact that this was a past timeline. This chapter is so exciting. Hello friends and sunflowers, my name is Lena and welcome back to my channel. I'm a hype theorist and today we're going to be covering chapter 26 of the Dark Moon of the Blood Altar. I'm so excited for this chapter because so much has happened and so much is being revealed about their backstory and just questions that we had. It also, you'll see, will confirm one of the theories that I talked about in my Dark Moon, the Blood Altar Explained. What did I say? How did I title that video? The lore, explaining the lore, something like that video. Click the card if you want to know that. But I talked about a theory in there and it confirms one of the theories about Chris. So, I'm so excited to cover this chapter right now. I do want to apologize. As you guys may or may not know, I did move to Japan from Canada. I also made a video about that on my second channel. So I've been really behind on covering like Webtoon weekly channels. Like I think like 10 episodes or something like that. Like it was just, I had so much going on. I could not commit to actually doing it. So we're picking up from just the current chapter. I think where I left off was like right before or during when Suha discovered they were vampires. I can't remember because I actually filmed several episodes that never got posted. I just like never got around to editing them, and at this point it's just so outdated. So I'm a little confused where I left off, but basically Suha discovers they're vampires. She, if you've read it, you know. In the last chapter, something really exciting happened. In my opinion, it was just really fun to read. Kan basically confesses to Suha because she's like, wait a minute, you saw me on the clips and I know that you fall in love, and he's like, yeah, I basically only love you. So that was like awkward, and we got some really great Solon expressions in that entire chapter, but that's not why we're here. We're talking about the next chapter. Solon is my favorite character, and whenever I see him, he's so cute. I have this issue where I like second leads. Anyways, this chapter opens up with Solon being told, hey, you need to come over here. Marge, the what word do they use? Principal of the Vampfield house, which was their orphanage, is here. She found us. Okay, so going into this chapter, there's so much stuff that is revealed in their backstory. But it's important to note that the way they feel about their past in the webtoon here, which is sort of a negative feeling, is completely different from how it feels in the web novel to them. In the web novel, they have fond memories of the orphanage staff, of which there were many. Here it feels like maybe there was only Marge, I'm not sure. And they had to escape an attack on the orphanage, which they think are drifters. And there's like this whole like extra room in this like burnt down orphanage where they like find a book about them being the princes and stuff. Like, I'm getting ahead of myself because we haven't even talked about that here. But that's what happens in the web novel. And here you'll see, like, it's different. They are like, I hated this, like it was trapping us, it was against our will. So the way they feel about it is totally different. I don't know why. I'm sort of not sure whether I should stick with my theory of these are multiple dimensions and the webtoon and the web novel are different dimensions. But my other current theory is the web novel is a rough draft. I don't know. That's how it reads anyway, because it's definitely not well edited or anything. I complain about the web novel too much. I'm so sorry. This is about the webtoon. Okay, anyways, this is a very exciting chapter for me because it just tells us exactly what we need to know about this version of the story. So, can my hair like stay down, please? Anyways, Solon runs and he literally says they were locked up in the orphanage. So right away, you know they were not happy there. Marge. I like how this whole situation, Marge is here and she's like, I need to tell you guys something. Like, oh, this is where you've been. I have to tell you guys something right away because all this is happening. And most of them are like, get out of here. We don't want you here. And Helly's trying to be like civilized. He's like, long time no see, Marge. I'd assumed you'd given up on finding us after all these years. And then she actually says like, oh, I didn't actually find you. What I found was... And then she doesn't continue. I think she's talking about Suha. I think who she found was Suha, or Darden / Chris related to Suha. We haven't gone over that yet, but Darden is Chris, which was what we predicted a while ago, several weeks ago. So it's just very exciting. We also get a hint of like how long they've actually been here. They were locked in the orphanage for one whole century, and then they were out of the orphanage for 120 years. So in the orphanage, they were children. They grew up to a certain point. They stopped growing because that was when they were originally turned, as it is explained in this video. So for 120 years, they've just been, presumably once they hit teenage years, they've just been basically teenagers for that whole time. And in the cut tunes, it does tell us a little bit about what they've gotten up to. They participated in a war. They started their own company, which is VesselSoft, which seems to be an IT company. They talk about it in one of the Behind episodes. And then also they have like a private hangar from VesselSoft, so that seems to be their own company's thing. And then Blessed Cursed seems to be, I don't know exactly what happened to their company. I don't know if they're really managing it or not. Apparently it still exists, and they must still have some form of ownership in it, because they can use the private hangar, like planes that are like the VesselSoft's own. Like, it's clearly a private plane. You know, they did a lot in that time. So we do actually know pretty definitively how long they've been not in the orphanage. So, and then she basically goes on to describe the antagonist of this series, Darden, who calls himself the first vampire. And I think that's a very important distinction, because as I've discussed previously, he's not actually the first vampire. In fact, he did it, he became a vampire in a way that he probably shouldn't have. So in the past timeline, Darden knows Suha, and Suha is this princess, which we kind of are told here. It's kind of like the cliffhanger of the episode, but we do know more from the web novel. Anyways, he sees her with this ritual for the the wolf god, which the differentiation is very interesting. And he sees her kind of go up on the platform and doesn't really see what happens. He knows it involves the blood of this wolf guard. I think his name is Vergir, I don't know. I'm sorry if I say it wrong. And basically he like gifts it to her, and it absorbs into her body, approximately. So it's like this whole ritual. And he doesn't understand what exactly happened, but he has like suspicions. He assumes she drank the blood of this god that heals her and gives her all these abilities and stuff like that. And that's not really what happened. Kind of shown here that he became a vampire because of a forbidden method. It has like a bunch of like, it looks like syringes and needles and stuff like that, which is interesting because of MMA performance. I'm gonna make a different video on the MMA performance, by the way. But we do see like this exact kind of syringe that is in here in the MMA performance, attacking Sungwon's character. So just in your head, like, whoa, something's going on there. Whatever he did to become the first vampire was done in a way that was not the way that Suha gave the ancient powers to the knights, the vampire lords, which apparently is also what Marge is. So does Marge have like super cool powers and stuff? I assume so. And I'm guessing Marge's powers are actually talked about in this episode a little bit. So she's like, hey, the reason that we kept you in this orphanage was because Darden wanted the power, and he wanted to take you guys out. He wants to like, you know, like, no. She sends them really far off into the future. And I think that's her power somehow. Time power makes sense to me, because Jungwon's character, for example, in one of the music videos, Jungwon is seen with a clock, and he seems to slow down time until it almost stops. And his character kind of like is really smart because he's able to process things very quickly, because time moves slower for him. Like, he can like slow down time, I think, is the interpretation of for his powers that I have. I'm guessing her power had something to do with being able to move them forward in time, something like that. I don't know if it'll be good in a battle necessarily, but she did do that to keep them safe. She also says that they're the only remaining vampire lords, so I guess everyone else like died, you know? So whoever else Suha trusted in the past, before she also passed away and was later reincarnated, they're all dead. Oh yeah, and also sending them to the future turned them back into children. and they lost all their memories, which is like, But I think they didn't really lose their memories. Like, their memories are probably sealed with the powers. I'm guessing as they unlock the power that they have, their memories will sort of come back. Because I think there's some things that they're like, this seems a little bit weird. You know what I mean? I love that she also just is like, hey, I collected you guys from like all of these different orphanages. I found you all and brought you all together. So that was sweet and nice of her. Anyways, and then she's like, hey, the powers began to unseal. The reason they unsealed is because Suha, who I guess must have passed away in the original timeline, was reincarnated. It seems that her soul kept the contract with Vargar as well because she still has her powers. They've also hinted that she actually can turn into fog in this version. So we knew that as an ability from the web novel. Like the first 3 chapters or something like that ends up talking about it. Like it's discovered really early on. And we also know that Trenna, who is a member of the court as well and acquainted with Darden, who appeared in Suha's dreams and then took on Chris's personality and knowledge because of what she told him in a dream, but she was probably fog at the time and didn't realize. Trenna also has that ability to turn into fog. I believe it's Trenna in the MMA music. I said I wouldn't talk about the MMAs. Anyways, that person, I think that's Trenna. I have thoughts about that I'm not talking about here. Oh, I think this video is going to come up before the MMA video. Yeah. So we basically learn at the end of this chapter, the cliffhanger of this chapter is that Suha's been reincarnated, which is why vampires suddenly appeared again in the world, which makes a lot of sense because she released the seal. So 10 out of 10, we now have that kind of all falling into place. We did obviously know that she was already the same as Suha. We now know for a fact that this was a past timeline. This chapter is so exciting. So, confirmation, it was a past timeline, not an alternate dimension, and this is Suha reincarnated. So, big news, guys! Everything makes sense, it all clicks into place, things are just following, you know? It's making sense. But that also means, I think, that if Suha's the reincarnation is the reason that the seal is now broken, then I feel like she can, eventually overpower the others. I know she passed away in a previous timeline, but I think part of that is because when she was born, she had an illness or something. I'm trying to remember the exact details, but she was really ill. Her body as a physical form was very weak already, but that did not happen now in her reincarnated form, her reincarnated body. It has never been racked by illness. Feel like this would be the time where, she can help and do things. 10 out of 10. I'm very excited. So the drifters and the first vampire and the vampire commander people that we've talked about in the past, they are all a product of Darden's experiments and Darden biting people who were humans and turning them into vampires, which is why the drifters are so out of control and also not that strong. And then the commanders, I assume, has more blood in them or something like that, and so they're stronger. I don't know. It's kind of implied in the web novel that he's done a lot of experiments, potentially on one of the vampire lords. Sorry, I just really want to talk about the MMAs so badly. It's on my list. It's coming. So, yeah, there's so much exciting stuff going on. What have we learned in this chapter? So much. We've learned definitively that they are from the same timeline in the past to the future. We've learned that Chris is actually Darden. More Darden just took the form of Chris, most likely. We've learned that Marge is apparently also a vampire lord and potentially has really strong powers. At least was able to, maybe with companions, seal the magic and then send them far into the future. We know that Suha is going to be developing some pretty cool princess powers, probably, because what else was the princess able to do? You know what I mean? Like, they didn't really explain it too much in the web novel yet, at the point that we're at. So there's so much exciting stuff that we could learn about Suha. I'm sorry the sun is setting, by the way. It's just, like, gradually getting darker. The sun sets so early! I'm just so excited. I'm just yelling. I'm so sorry. I've just been yelling at you for the past, like, however long this video is. Anyways, we've learned so much. I think I missed something. Oh, the Vampfield Orphanage. We've learned about how they feel about it, which we already kind of knew, but, like, we got more context on why they wanted to run away. And then we kind of wondered, did they try to burn the building down when they left? You know? Or was it because of an attack? I don't know, because I don't know what version of events this is. Because in the web novel, they're like, yeah, we ran away because we were being attacked. But here, it feels like they might have burned it down themselves. You know, we've seen VCRs where they're like, the night we escaped. VCRs like that have already told us that, yeah, they ran away. There are some questions that I still have that I'm probably going to make a video on things we don't know about Enhypen still, because it's a lot longer than this, but, like, the chief among them is, well, how is it that they don't get burned by the sun? Because in the music videos, there's a large focus on them suddenly not being burned anymore. There's also, like, other things that I just, you know, it's like a whole video that I have planned because there's a lot of questions. But yeah, I'm really so excited for the next chapter of Dark Moon. I think it's my favorite story in the Hype universe right now. I also just like the romance genre, you know? I think it's really funny. I like the characters. Anyway, I tried to brighten this. Okay, this is the outro anyway, but thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe so that YouTube tells you every single time I post a new video, and turn on notifications. Obviously, I will be posting more videos. I've moved to Japan now, so I have a lot more time. The thing I'm focusing on is mostly going to be YouTube, so yes, check out my second channel, check out my social media, everything's linked in the description. I do want to give a shout out to my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. I really appreciate it. If you want to become a patron, the link is in the description down below. Come chat and theorize with us on our Discord server. We talk about stuff as it comes out. So anyways, as it is, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and yeah, stay sunny everyone. Bye!